First, I would like to inform you that this presentation contains themes of sexual assault, misogyny, and suicide. I would also like to remind you to silence your devices. This is not an opera. It's not a musical, though elements of both are present. There are no costumes, no sets, no real staging or choreography, no memorized lines or music. It's a musical excavation from many ancient sites. Our singers are tuneful archaeologists. Our songs are shards of poetry we use and fuse and muse about what's in the gaps. It's not music for music's sake, not an opus for posterity. Rather, it's a series of musical snapshots for this what, where, and who, while focused on another what, where, and who. Tonight, our who is Lana Sawyer, born the same year as the United States, though our newborn country never saw her coming. She lost her father, a skilled carriage maker, at age 7, and her mother soon remarried a man named John Callanan. Sewing girl sounds innocuous enough, but it was a pejorative term for a seamstress. Most likely, she first learned to sew from the mother of Miss Pine, her dear friend. She wouldn't have designed or made entire garments. She might have mended for families or completed piecework for tailors or mantua makers, as there were no factories at the time. And we come to 1793, exactly 230 years ago. One night in late summer, Lana agreed to go for a walk with someone whom she thought was a lawyer Smith. Really, Henry Bedloe, someone red-blooded and blue-blooded. She also met Anne Carey, or Mother Carey, who ran a house of ill repute. The yellow fever was emerging in Philadelphia. The English drinking ditty that would later become a star-spangled tune was first heard on our shores, also in Philadelphia. And in New York, what might have been an innocent arm-in-arm stroll around the Battery led to a court case unlike any our country had seen.
According to Samuel Johnson, History of the English Language, 1785.
Battery.
He that battered the act of battery. It's also a place in New York. Gentlemen of the jury, the solemnity of the present occasion is that the prisoner at the bar is charged with having committed a crime of the deepest dye, the natural consequence of which, if proved against him, is the loss of his life.
Before the Battery, a maiden wishful but afeard. Before the Battery, that he was not what he appeared. He was from here and she from there. Doubtful they form a perfect pair. This one so built on flattery. Before the Battery.
Lord Hale defines rape as the carnal knowledge of a woman forcibly and against her will. It's possible he was culpable but not guilty of a rape. He may have seduced this girl, yet he did not force her. She may have fallen victim to seduction, but she has not experienced the monstrous brutality of a rape.
Before the Battery.
Before the Battery.
Small heart of fear. Before the Battery.
Before the Battery.
He was not what he appeared.
He was from here and she from there. Doubtful they form a perfect pair. This bond so built on
prosecutrix of good fame? Did she make a complaint as soon as she had the power? Was she in a place where she might have been heard? And did she make an outcry? Did the prisoner fly?
I thought the evening was delightful until he forced me onto Ann Street, where upstanding people do not go. And the prisoner took me by force to Ann Carey's body house. She would not let us in at first, but he grabbed me by the arm and took me around the back and demanded that she grant entry. My name is Lorna Sawyer, taken in by Lawyer Smith, or so he said. A man once made me nervous, Smith did me a service, myth is what he spread, and this did him embolden, and I was beholden. Why would such a one, so blessed with charm and status, help me thus regatus, fight to have his fun, and then commence to press me when he would address me, walk with me somewhere. His words were fine and florid, and a little horrid, bulk I didn't dare. He said we'd be escorted, but that soon was thwarted. Now my hope was dim, and with my thoughts asunder, could not help but wonder how to think of him. I remembered my neighbor, Mr. Hone, who had seen me with Lawyer Smith, and had told me that my companion was in fact Henry Bedloe, a great rake, which I did not believe at the time. It was then that I realized the treachery.
Around the Battery, it was a summer New York night. Around the Battery, the air was pleasant but not quite. Gaslighting here since just last year, screeching metallic, cog and gear, the horses' hoofs were flattery. Around the Battery.
The prisoner asked for my consent several times, and each time I screamed no, and I called him what he is, a dog, a brute, and a villain. Then he put his left arm over my throat and had his ends of me.
Around the Battery, it was a summer New York night. Around the Battery, the air was pleasant but not quite. Gaslighting here since just last year, screeching metallic, tongue and gear, the horses' hoofs were flattery. Around the Battery.
I had preserved her honor back in August, though I wondered what a respectable girl was doing on the streets of New York alone. I encountered her again a week later and asked if I could interest her in a walk around the Battery. What's the harm? My name is Henry Bedloe. I've assumed at times the name of Smith. Did I the dear to ruin drive? No need for me to plead the fifth. How could the girl be so naive? She's 17 and not a child. A man is given to deceive, his nature raw and rough and wild. And lo, I just defended her from some French brute who meant her harm. I paid my toll then, as it were, and wished to have her on my arm. I planned to buy the sweet some sweets, she had her fill of creme glacée. We strolled along the cobbled streets, she was my partner, not my prey. I've met many women like the prosecutrix, sweet, coy, but harboring a desire that they dare not speak aloud. She surely knew there was something afoot when the couple I'd arranged to accompany us was conveniently not at home. Yes, I convinced her to let me escort her to Ann Street. And yes, I do not boast a glowing and unassailable reputation. But once inside the privacy of the bedchamber, she ripped apart her own skirts in a fit of carnal.
First, I refused them. The doors were locked and my husband was out of town. The prisoner eventually found his way to the rear of the house and pecked at the door with his stick most tiresomely. I gave them entry. She said she screamed. I heard nothing. My companion heard nothing, and there was a baby asleep on the premises who was never awakened. The prosecutrix came back the next day to inquire after the prisoner and to send her love to him. Naturally, I thought nothing was awry.
Mother Carey was wary for Harry to tarry. They had been walking, came knocking, just talking, not shocking, not there seemed curious, furious, spurious, injurious, no is prevailing, nor willing, nor illing, selling. Then she came calling, not crawling, not bawling, but falling for Bedloe. I of the dearie was weary, her query was teary. No girl of honor, a fawner, a goner, a yawner, but I'm not haughty, just naughty and gaudy and body.
I did not know where to go and agonized about what I would say to my mother and stepfather. I left Mother Carey's in the morning and sat by the riverside. A man asked me what was wrong and if I aimed to drown myself. called on Miss Pine on George Street so that she could accompany me home. Mr. Tout came with us, but when we arrived home, my mother and father were out, undoubtedly looking for me.
After the battery, after she fled that dreadful day, after the battery, to see the city round her still, far from a calming, kindly face, near to the threat of great disgrace, her garments stained and tattery, after the battery.
I was alarmed when she did not return home that Wednesday evening, and Mr. Hone said she was with that rake. Mr. Hone and I walked the city looking for her. We met the prisoner, who said he didn't know anything and pretended to have taken her home. Some worried I would blame Lana, whatever the events. On the contrary, I made it known that if she was wrong, I would turn her out of doors. But if she was right, I would say nothing to her. When we were finally reunited with Lana, my wife observed her linen discolored and said she must have had connection with a man. I took Lana to see Mrs. Carey, who denied ever seeing Lana, which we now know is not the case.
I am John Callandan, strong and determined man. Though she bears not my name, no man will bring her shame. Found Bedlow in the town, prepared to cut him down, too heinous to conceive. How could I not believe?
My name is Lana Sawyer.
I've assumed at times the name of Smith. Is
she of good fame? What was she doing in the streets unaccompanied? Did she make a complaint as soon as she could? Hardly. She wandered the streets, avoiding the shame of her actions. Did she make a hue and cry? No. She was in the bustling streets of New York, where hundreds of people would have come to her aid. Did the prisoner fly? No again. Gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
Battery!